In light of thousands of years worth of conditioning, sensual female energy can feel taboo. What if you were to let your foxy light shine without hindrance or fear? One of the many gifts of burlesque is how it allows beauty to be front and center. There is inherent freedom and generosity in claiming one's beauty for all to see and behold. How can we allow ourselves to be seen like this if we don't take the initiative and show up for our bodies and our beauty? When we say yes to whatever action or pursuit sparks joy in our hearts, we create the conditions for unparalleled change and the reclamation of the truth that we are both worthy and ready to connect with a deep expression of love in our hearts and our lives.
Good morning, everyone. Happy May 26th. It is super exciting to be here. I'm Carrie Severson with the Voice House, and I am here today with my dear friend and client, author Anna Brooke, who is showing up this morning as Reverend Malone.
Truth. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Morning. So we're doing this today because Anna spent a long time creating a book called Stripped Down, a burlesque web, and today is it. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I cannot believe the day is actually here. I woke up this morning with my stomach just doing high kicks and everything. It is exceptional. I cannot believe the day is here. It's just, you know those days when it's like, oh, that calendar day, it's going to happen someday. I don't know when. And suddenly here it is. It's Tuesday, May 26, 2020. Holy molasses, my book has been released.
Love it. And I'm really excited about this because the experience that we have so far is the people who understand and you and your world, burlesque as an ordained minister, as a spiritual healer, even as a yogi, right? They know what you mean when you say a burlesque let me home, or what you mean when you say stripped down. But if you're looking at the book and you watch the trailer, the first thing that I think people are going to see is skin. And when you actually dive into the book and you sit with it and you absorb questions like, who would I be if I stopped drinking coffee? How would people recognize me?
Yeah.
How would they feel about me if I showed up wearing, the concept of stripped down is as much as it is about a performance that you did on stage that you fell in love with, as much as it is about stripping these beliefs about yourself to understand who you are at a core level. And that is, I love what you did. I love how you used a performance to find a way to uncover parts of yourself that you want to let go of.
Oh, there we are. Sorry. I live in the mountains now, by the way. So there's something called mountain internet. So I apologize in advance if it freezes like that. But I was hearing, what I was hearing as you were speaking is really sort of deeper questions around identity.
Yes.
And please correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
Cool. Yeah, I start off the book itself, so for those of people who don't know what burlesque is the art of the striptease. And it's very much about revealing the body. But it goes deeper than that. It's revealing truer identities. It's revealing, really who we are. I heard a beautiful saying that, a lot of people use the metaphor of the onion, as we go through the changes in our lives, we're peeling back each layer, and each layer makes us cry. And this one is, I feel, more about peeling back layers of self and truly revealing what the truth is. And for me, what you mentioned, I talk about in the introduction. I think it's on the first page of the book. Really, when I was in my 20s, really in the throes of my eating disorder, I remember having a moment. My diet was mochas and cigarettes. That was it. And I remember thinking to myself, who would I be if I stopped drinking coffee? Who would I be if I stopped smoking cigarettes? Who would I be? And I couldn't come up with an answer. There was something about the trappings of those external identifiers that sort of gave me a false sense of self. But ultimately it was that I had not yet found out who I was. I had never been shown that that was something that mattered. And so fast forward to coming into burlesque, I just got served up a hot plate of right here, right now. This is what's coming next. And I was like, I'm sorry, what, God? Because it was very much a divine intervention. How I found out about burlesque was literally being told so in a meditation. I did not know what burlesque was. And I realize for some people that may require a suspension of disbelief, and that's fine. But it's the truth. And so for me, coming into burlesque, which has historically been a low art form, anything involving, the stripped female form has been sort of classified as not okay and not, certainly, definitely not for public consumption, but, somehow taboo and wrong. And yes, it's certainly an age appropriate thing, but ultimately it allowed me to start to unpack deeper beliefs about who I felt I was in this female body and practicing the identities that I felt I had. And everything started to open up and it all started to change.
Yeah. I think the best parts, I love how you open it, really, giving a good understanding and explanation of burlesque and art form. But honestly, my favorite parts of your book are at the end of the chapters. It's almost as if you created it like a book club, honestly. And, there's some chapters that are dedicated to certain people, but then there are some chapters, I think where it's like, strip these concepts down. Look at a person that honestly irks you, that rubs you the wrong way, and then identify why, and then put that on a mirror as yourself as like, these are things about myself I can't handle or like or whatever. So, and you do that with everything from body image, which is phenomenal. Every woman, I don't know a single woman who hasn't talked about her body. You do that about power. You do it about money. You do it about race. If you can get past the fact that there's a woman with feathers on the front cover, and you can dive into the true meaning of stripping away limiting beliefs so that you understand how to be a pure form of love, I honestly feel like the book is going to change. It's going to create a movement, and I have this like overwhelming sense that it will change lives, and that is phenomenal. I'm really excited.
Well, thank you. I talk about it, how the intention behind this book is to start a quiet revolution. And it's not a revolution that involves, violence. No, not at all. This is about having deeper conversations with ourselves and asking, why do I choose to believe or subscribe to this certain, system or belief system, whatever it is, because each of us, we can change our lives according to what we choose to be believing. Thought is creative and we are the thinkers. Right. And so when we begin to allow ourselves to open up into new possibilities and asking the deeper questions, like you mentioned at the end of all the chapters, they are in a way sort of like a mini workbook or a mini discussion points, right. Because that's where the rubber meets the road. I can tell my story till I'm blue in the face, but what I want to find out is the folks who are reading the book, like you said, to get past the feathers on the cover, the naked girl and the feathers on the cover, which in itself I feel is going to be the people who are going to be reading this book are the ones who are meant to be reading this book, and the people who are kind of like freaked out by the cover. I wish them softness and sweetness in their own bodies to say like, that's me just dressed up. And so dive deeper. You can't judge a book by its cover, just like you can't judge a person by how they're presenting themselves. And one of the gifts of burlesque is really being able to play with identity, play with the concept of self, but ultimately stripping back all the layers to reveal the spirit, what's really deep inside, what makes each of those people unique and marvelous. And not everybody is going to become a burlesque performer, and that is fine. I do not expect anybody to, suddenly charge out and suddenly be like, I'm going to be the next burlesque star. I mean, cool, mazel tov if you do that. But these deeper questions around what lights you up from the inside, and what if that is your purpose?
Right.
Because you started this incredible publishing house that I still can't believe is only a year old. That's bananas. And congratulations, by the way. But those deeper questions, like, what if it's your dream to be, a 5-star accountant? What if it's, to run a renewable waste sanitation company? I mean, I'm just pulling stuff out of thin air here, but the labels don't matter. It's the journey inside that does.
Right. Honestly, this morning I started my day, and I've been looking forward to starting my day with this experience, with this launch, since I met you. And so we started working together, what was it, like maybe August of 2019?
Yeah.
And I say this a lot, the book concept, the energy, the like movement, it's been this like freight train that I saw coming. Mm-hmm. And I kept on saying, let me just do all this other stuff first, and then I will face it. It was almost like I could see it. It was like out of my corner of my eye. Because this is something that will create conversation, and it's one of these things where it's like, you're either going to be 100%, oh my gosh, yes, I totally can't wait to uncover what this changes within me or what this unlocks. That's what it feels like. It feels like an unlocking kind of mechanism. Yeah. And again, in my opinion, like, your tool to discovering who you were at your core was an art form. People use books to do the exact same thing. They use movies, they use songs, they use poems, they use food, they use something as a tool to unlock this journey. And I love that you wrote this book about your, mechanism, and people can use the book as their mechanism. Like it's this perfect sort of alignment. But I today super early, like had immediately wanted to like text you at like 5 a.m. Oh my gosh, but I pulled up.
I'd have been up breathing and expanding my energy because I was.
I grabbed a cup of coffee. I downloaded it on Kindle. I was super proud. I took time to like read everything. And then I was like, bye. And that always makes me excited. And I spend time really reading passage after passage and clicking through the whole thing. And there's I've read the book several times, but there's always elements that still grab me. And so that passage about who would I be if I stopped, that hit me this time, because when I became an entrepreneur, it was like, I was right before I turned 30. I sat down, came home, was really unhappy in my career, and I sat down and I wrote my journal. What do I want to do for the rest of my life? Like, I wrote down questions that I didn't know the answer to. And your journey really reminded me of my own, of becoming an entrepreneur and saying yes to being a black sheep, And there's a passage in your book about how you felt like you were water, just being poured into a container to blend in whoever you were with. And I used to say, I felt like I was running through life with Velcro taped around me, and whatever stuck is what I used, and that's who I became. I jumped from bandwagon to bandwagon, and I used the stuff that stuck to figure out who I was supposed to be on that wagon. It's phenomenal. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, the concept of, I think the line in the book is that I was, water being poured into whatever glass was available and just taking the shape of that glass. Mm-hmm. And for me personally, and I talk a little bit about my family and, some of the stuff that I had going on growing up. And I love my family, and I'm extremely fortunate to have a great relationship with my parents. But, unpacking the deeper stuff of like, how did I even learn that in the first place, to not stand up for myself or to have the sense of like support or will to make happen whatever it was that I wanted to happen. And well, the good news, spoiler alert, I did get there. It just took me a while. And I feel very fortunate to have even gotten there, period. But it's still, I'm not done. Like, I love, and I tell this to my clients, and I tell this on all of my lives. Like, if anybody tells you that they are done learning, they're lying. They're lying. And that's one of the reasons why in the title of the epilogue is I Am Still Learning, because I joyously surrendered to that. When I was younger, I did not, I like to call myself a recovering perfectionist. And I didn't want to be seen without the answers. I didn't want to be seen as somebody who didn't have everything set and done. Again, firstborn daughter, part of the package, I guess. But through that process, I learned to just give up, and literally give it up to the divine, to God, to the universe, to I refuse to take control over stuff that I've never had control over. And that sense of I had to control everything in my environment. I had to control everything because I felt so unsafe. I felt so unloved. I felt not that the world was out to get me. I wasn't paranoid or anything, but it was a sense of I am not enough as I am, and I am not worthy. So I need to practice becoming something else. And this book, it really starts. I came into burlesque as that was being cracked wide open for me, and what I wanted was literally no longer legally possible. I was living abroad, and I broke, and I literally just asked God. And I am not a particularly religious person, but this book is also the story of how I made peace with the divine, and how I was oh wait, actually God is a force that is on my side. This is not a big scary angry grandfather figure who's here to punish me. No, not at all. God is the great yes. And so it's oh, well, what do I want? What am I wanting in life? And oh, how about I let go of all of that other stuff and just focus on what's in here? So
I love it. I love that. God is the great big yes.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. So today is your release date. You have a lot of things planned. Why don't you share a little bit about what you have planned?
Yes, with pleasure. So I've got this is starting off my morning, which I'm so excited about. Perfect way to begin. I have a podcast interview actually right after this. And then tonight I am throwing an online live launch party. And I am really excited. I was going to be doing it via Facebook Live, but I've actually chosen to stream on YouTube. And it's going to be some of my nearest and dearest friends showing up and making their magic online. And, if anybody does want to join it, we're going live at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I do want to say, this is burlesque. This is, I want to call it, it's not adult entertainment, but it is, this is not appropriate for kids. I don't know, I've seen all the videos. There's nothing explicit. There's nothing obscene, but it's please be mindful of who's watching this, because there's a lot of information that may not be appropriate for younger viewers. But that being said, it's a lot of art. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of love. It's a lot of bodies. It's just a huge celebration. It's a big celebration of not just this book, of this gargantuan effort, but also this joy of being alive, joy of being in a body. What a gift, what an immense pleasure. And especially in the midst of this wild moment we're all navigating and negotiating right now, what a beautiful moment to just celebrate life and purpose and possibility and art. So
Art, I love it.
And then I'm going to crash out. I'm going to bed early.
But I love that you touch on the fact that it's a virtual party. And so I just want to share that within COVID, there is a huge shift has happened where authors with these huge releases, regardless of whether you're a New York Times bestseller or a self-published author, we're in this space of having to do everything online. And so I would encourage, I've never seen this kind of launch party happen online. I could see it, it's supposed to be in a magical theater with all your friends and so even if you're in the space of, I wonder what a launch party online would look like for me, take a cue from Lex, because this is how to do it right. And I'm so excited to witness this as your publisher. You're truly leading the way, and I'm so grateful and honored to walk this journey.
Oh, well, Carrie, right back at you. Thank you so much for taking a chance on this book and just saying yes. And for being, so fabulous and having such a great team, and just for being there every step of the way. I'm deeply grateful, and thank you so much, from this unapologetic voice to yours. I appreciate it.
So Anna's book is available everywhere books are sold. Target and Walmart have already picked it up. You can get it online, Apple, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, bookshop.org if you're interested in supporting local bookstores. And it's available as both paperback and ebook. Grab yours today. Thanks, Anna.
Oh, thank you so much, Carrie. Thank you, thank you, thank you.